This project for me started in the fall quarter of my senior year. I was working on a research project that investigated the impact of Black women's natural hair represented in television and how it influences Black female audiences' decision to go natural. Now, in my initial research for that project, I found that many Black women had stated that one deterrent to them going natural was how their hair would be perceived in the workplace and how it might be perceived as unprofessional. While I had a lot of hangups with my decision to go natural, whether or not it'd be perceived as professional was not something that ever crossed my mind. Still, after I finished that project, that was a question that continued to remain in my head. What is professional hair, and why would my hair be considered otherwise? I was fortunate enough to interview 8 amazing Black women on the value of our natural hair. Their stories are empowering and beautiful and amazing in their own right. I hope that you listen to their stories, hear what they have to say, and overall, I hope that you understand why it is so important for us to protect our crown.
Hair is my heritage. White girls pay for my melanin. My lips, my clothes, my swag, my coat. They all want to get got by the white folk, but no, not no more. This generation said hell no. If you don't love and you hate for fun, hit the road, Jack, you gotta go. I'm black and I'm proud, let me say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud, I love the style. I'm black and I'm proud, I'ma move the crowd. I'm black and I'm proud, let the world hear the sound. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud.
Actually, I grew up as a young girl wanting to do hair, playing in my doll's hair. And I had a dream, went to school and got my license and opened up a salon. And I have had the best experience because I found that styling Black hair, we have so many options. We have so many different style options. We can style our hair curly, straight, braids, add extensions slash accessories. We can wear wigs. We can do so many things when it comes to our hair.
I work in a high-end salon in Bellevue. You know, mostly white, some Asians, and then it was me. So my niche mostly is I definitely felt, I remember in beauty school, I had to teach people, the instructors, how to do relaxers. They didn't even know how to do relaxers properly. And in beauty school, I went to beauty school up in Northgate, and there's a big African community in there. And so I did so many silk presses, like I was always doing blowouts and flat ironing. And and since I have a lot of hair, I always felt comfortable with doing thick hair.
I can remember when I was a child, my aunt Sandra used to straighten her hair with a hot comb. And I always wanted my hair straight, even though it didn't need it. I always wanted my hair straightened. So one weekend when I went to spend the night, she straightened my hair and put it in ponytails and stuff. And it made my hair actually longer. I don't know if it did damage to my hair, but when my mom came and picked me up that weekend, she was not happy. My experience, from what I can remember, when my mom would do my hair in the ponytails, that I went to school with my hair done neatly, and when I came home, I returned with my hair done neatly. And it was just no question about it. It wasn't like she told me to do this or whatever, but yeah, it was always neat ponytails.
Remember having ponytails, very tight ponytails. Scalp was greased. It would be burning in the summertime.
This I did not know.
Oh yeah, it was like you could boil eggs up there. Yeah, the scalp was all lumped up and everything.
No,
it was all. Let me
okay, I'm sorry.
So it was always really tight. I do remember we grew up in Kent, so most of our friends were white, and I always wondered, well, why can't we have our hair down like our friends? Like they have the cute little headbands and the little scrunchies and stuff, and we got bobbles and barrettes. Mm-hmm. And I remember Jasmine got her hair permed first, I believe. And then Jasmine started having cuter hairstyles because her hair was, she got to wear her hair down or something. That's what I think I remember. And so it seemed like the only way we can wear our hair down is if we got it permed. We did used to get the hot comb though, which that was intense. And there was forehead burns with the curling iron, holding of the ear. The ears were always burnt. It was just a real crispy situation.
Well, I think I first started to realize that my hair was different when I was in like maybe late middle school. I went to school with a lot of white girls, and they just like, we would go swimming or whatever, and their hair would, they just come out of the pool and, you know, their hair was whatever. And I'm like, why is mine all like shrinking up? Like, man, I don't like this. So I started, you know, wearing my hair in braids, and then it went to weaves. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could just relax my hair. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to wear it natural. I'm going to cut it off. I don't like that anymore. I'm going to get a weave, and I'm going to get some braids. And then I shaved my head last year, and I didn't like that anymore. So I got weaves again, and now I'm doing locks. So it's been all over the place. I look at my Instagram sometimes and I'm like, what? How did I keep up with all those hairstyles? So yeah, it's been all over the place. But I think I'm like you. I'm finally starting to like my hair and learn to love it and appreciate all that Black women can do with their hair. And there's like that solidarity. You see a Black woman on the street and you're like, oh, I like your hair. Like, oh, I got these locks too. And then you have like a little conversation about it. It's cute.
Growing up, it was always perms. I really didn't know that I could function without a perm until college. So hair was permed all the way up into college. And then I think I did one of those things, you know, how when you are releasing and you move away and you just want to change, I cut my hair off, pissed my mama off, but it was a very nice start. It definitely was not like an even cut, because I literally was in the dorm room and was like, oh, I'm cutting this off. And then that's kind of when I started down the path of like doing my own hair and figuring things out. And after a while, I just quit perming it and just started embracing it in its natural state.
My hair and all of my firm profiles is straight. But if you saw me on a day-to-day basis, my hair is curly. At first, when I started working, I only wore my hair straight. Now, even when I go to court, I primarily wear it curly. But it took me to be comfortable in my workplace, right? And to prove myself before I felt comfortable wearing my hair curly, which is not something I'm proud of, right? But it was my reality.
I noticed my hair falling out back in 94, 93 after the birth of my daughter. And, you know, after you have a child, you know, as a woman, you go through all types of things. Your hair falls out, you gain weight, lose weight. But my hair started shedding. So by 1998, I found my first bald spot at the nape of my neck. And me being a hairstylist, I didn't know what it was. So I went to a barber friend, and he just said, well, baby, it'll probably grow back. He cut my hair back down, because at that time I was wearing a short Halle Berry type of hairstyle, short on the sides and short in the back. And so a couple of months passed by, and my hair switched sides, and it started falling out on the other side. So as time went on, it started growing. The amount of bald spots started increasing and spreading. I like to say it was playing tag in my head. And so I didn't know what it was. Had never seen anything like that. And by the year 2000, it had gotten so bad, I was forced to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor and I got a diagnosis. They sent me to a dermatologist, and they told me at that time that I had alopecia. I didn't know what alopecia was. So alopecia is an autoimmune disease. It's where your immune system attacks your hair follicle and causes your hair to fall out. There are 6.8 million people in the US. 147 million people worldwide.
So I had relaxers since I can remember, probably like around 11 or 12. My mom started relaxing my hair, simply because my hair was so thick and she got tired of pressing it in the kitchen every week. And so my hair is so thick that I was getting relaxers like every 2 weeks. And I did that up until about 6 years ago. And I was super religious about getting my hair done. So it was getting dyed and fried like every 3 weeks. And the last time I had it dyed and fried, like literally, like you could see the bubbles of burn around the edges of my hair. And I had to use aloe vera gel and all of this stuff because it was just a hot mess. And I decided, you know what, that is it. That's enough. And started working with someone to transition out of the relaxer. So I started doing spiral sets, and I had to do spiral sets for about a year. At that time, not only was my hair relaxed, but I actually had it kind of cut in a mohawk. So it was super, super short around the sides and in the back. And then I had the mohawk on the front. And so just trying to transition out of that took a while. So I did the spiral sets for about a year before it could actually get locked. And then that was a process. And it took about a year after that to actually lock. So, once it locked, it did its thing.
And I think I permed my hair until I was probably 19 or 20. And then I stopped perming it because obviously it was just so damaged, because then I was off in college doing my own hair because Mom did our hair for a long time, longer than she should have been doing our hair because she wanted it to be neat in her way or whatever.
So you didn't know how to take care of your hair, basically?
Did not, no. I was putting in perms and dye like every weekend, like it was nobody's business.
You don't.
But I was.
Growing up, I did have a relaxer, like as a kid, and into my pretty much adulthood. One of the biggest things for me was probably around my 20s when I cut my hair. You remember Rihanna had the shortcut that she had when she came out with Umbrella. Like I wanted that cut, so that was one of the first like big things for me. That was to cut my hair off. And then from there, I cut my hair off, and then I also started relaxing it because to save money, because I was like, I don't have that much hair. But then I started relaxing it too much, and it actually damaged the hair. So around 2010, my hair was already short, so I just started to go natural. And I pretty much grew it out from, like I said, a shortcut, and I just cut it little by little. And maybe 6 months after that, I cut it off and had like a TWA. And I grew it out. And I've never really been a big long hair person. Like I always preferred shortcuts, but growing my hair out natural, I saw how quickly it grew. Then I did a tapered cut, grew back out. And now I'm back to a tapered cut. So yeah, it's been pretty much like me just trying new looks, whether it's cutting it or coloring it.
Jasmine and Janae, I would do their hair and they would go off to school, kind of like me. They would go off to school and come back and their hair looked like they just got it done. And I never said anything to them about your hair got to be nice and neat or whatever. And when you came along, I would send you to school with your hair looking nice and neat, and you would come home and there'd be hair all over the place. And I'm like, whoa, what happened at school today? What did you do? And nothing, played or, whatever. But yeah, when you came, it was just like, just do the hair. And when she comes home, whatever it looks like, that's what you get.
I have always been for my comfort, and them ponytails were tight. So if I needed to be like, oh no, there's an itch here, I'm gonna scratch it.
I remember Jasmine and Janae, when they would have an itch or something, I don't know if I ever told them, but they would scratch in the way the ponytail is. If it was at an angle, they would scratch at an angle.
I think you told us this. I don't think that we knew this because we
say.
always knew, like, our friends like to play in each other's hair all the time.
Oh, no.
Exactly. So we knew, okay, we can't have our hair played with because mom is going to be upset. So there had to have been some type of a conversation.
Okay, well, maybe so, because when Kalia would scratch her hair, she didn't care. It was just scratch.
And do you remember I came home once with my bang down because I let my friend and I pulled out a piece of our ponytail to have a bang so that we could match. And I got home, or I got in the car, and you were like, what did you do? And I was like, oops, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I accepted it. When you came along, 10 years later, I was just like, okay, well, it is what it is. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
She started off looking nice and neat, and when she came home,
I mean, I was still cute.
Okay.
But I think that has to do with, like back in the day, I feel like the parents were like, you have to present yourself a certain way to society so that people will respect us or, whatever. And I think that that's still like, I feel like that was still a thing. That's growing up.
I think it's still a thing now.
I think that there is a way, whether you are a person of color or not, there is a way to present yourself and to be put together, quote unquote. And I think that society has brainwashed everyone into thinking that put together look is the straight hair and the more European style. And that's not accurate. There's a way for me to have my fro and to have my locks or what have you, and I look good. Just because you may not think that it is as put together as it should be doesn't mean that it's not. I think that we kind of have to recondition the way we were taught to think and believe what is good and what's not and what's pretty and acceptable, and allow people to wear the hair that comes naturally out of their head.
The school I went to, they don't, and I just know this across the board, they don't teach how to do textured hair at beauty school. After I graduated from my school, I went and worked, apprenticed under a stylist for 6 months just to make sure that I knew how to do curly hair. And I did. Like, what I knew was what she was doing. But they don't teach anything about curly hair. They teach you how to relax it, and at the same time, they don't even know how to relax. I can teach, walk through my instructors how to do it correctly. They just don't take enough time. And I will say, in my experience at my old salon, people are very intimidated to do, my hair, just curly hair in general. You could be white and have curly hair, and people get intimidated about doing any kind of hair that is other than straight and fine. You know what I mean? That really bothered me, especially when I was considering not taking or working anymore. It was like, I need to be out there to do hair for people that don't have straight fine hair. Like, it's ridiculous because we're going to school to do hair. I mean, we all have it. How come we all don't know how to do everybody's hair, right?
People have made comments about my hair, but I dismiss it. And there's been a few times where comments have been made and about natural hair, and I counter back and I said, well, isn't your hair natural? So if you have the privilege of, stepping to the shower, shampooing your hair, and then going, why shouldn't I? And so I just counter back, right? So it's natural is natural. So a white person can't say, oh, as a white person, I get to be natural, but as a person of color, you don't get to be. That's hypocrisy. And so I call it out. And plus, it takes a lot of time to look this good. So although my hair is natural, it's just not a wash and go kind of thing. Again, I just mentioned that the whole smell thing, I'm very sensitive to smells. And I don't like how my hair smells after it's freshly washed, especially when it's air drying. I don't like that smell. So, I sit under the hair dryer for like 5 hours just to get it dry. So, and then if I decide to curl it up, if I decide to do some other style. And so to be able to do my hair the way I want to do it takes a lot of time and a lot of creativity.
We have a long history when you think about our ancestors, and if we go back to Africa, Egypt, the way that they styled their hair even back then helps people today, during our generation, realize how important our hair and expression was when it came to our hair. I think about something that I read about back in the slavery time, where when they braided people's hair, the way that they braided the hair, it was a way that they could communicate and talk to each other without the slave owner knowing what they're talking about. So they will braid like a map or some type of code in each other's head, in which you can communicate and deliver messages and just help each other. I think just communication, and it was, think about it. You're braiding someone's hair and you're able to communicate with style. And I mean, I think that's just such so powerful, because it's not only a way to express our gifts as far as through art, with braiding and styling, but it was a way to communicate. So just think about how powerful and how smart our people were, the Black community, our ancestors were, to think of a way to communicate through styling the hair. I think that just blows my mind. It really does. I think grooming policies put a put African American women and men in a box, because our hair is part of our culture, it's part of who we are and how we show up in society. And so I think that most corporations and companies, they hinder themselves in finding out who we are when they give us parameters or boundaries on how we should show up as our authentic self. And being part of our authentic self is expressing ourselves through our hairstyling options. So I think they need to broaden their horizons and let us be who we truly and authentically are as African American men and women.
It's disgusting to me. I mean, we're all going through this Black Lives Matter stuff like this. That's discrimination. It's discrimination. It's harassment. Like, I mean, to me, it's the same level as something like sexual harassment. To me, like, this is my body.
I don't even know. I don't know what to say, because it's just ridiculous. Why is that? Why is it a question? Why is it a concept? And why are you monitoring something that is natural? It's not shocking, obviously, because, this is, what white supremacy does every day to Black people and people of color and women. So of course they're gonna, police what hair looks like. But I'm like, what do you want people to do? Just like continually damage their hair so they can fit into this mold that you want, that is professionalism? That doesn't make sense.
One of the patients at the office that I worked for, older Black lady, and she came in one year. This was the first year that I had worked and I seen her, and she just really embraced me. And she was just like, this doctor, she doesn't have a Black nurse. This is my first time seeing her have a Black, somebody that worked back here. She said, I've seen staff up front that works. She was like, but I've not seen, nobody has ever called me back and got my vitals and, you know, and did all of this. She said, you are the first one. And she was just like, stay so I can keep coming. And it's like, that's what people want to, and of course, I'm not going to say she was never going to go to the doctor. She had been going to the doctor, but people want to see people that look like them in these fields. They get more comfortable, especially where the doctor's office being an OBGYN. A lot of Black women were so comfortable with me being there because of what's going on in the world and how Black women, when they're pregnant, aren't getting the care that they need. So there were a lot of the Black patients that I, hit it off with, and we would sit there and or waiting on the doctor talking about our hair and talking about this stuff, and they just felt more natural and more comfortable. And I think that when workplaces, when they discriminate against Black hair, that they are going to lose clientele. They're going to lose people that would otherwise shop with them or use them if they had more people that looked like them.
So with my condition, I went through all types of things, went to major depression, lost weight, gained weight. And how I came to where I am today is I met an 11-year-old little girl who came to me because she had alopecia. So she came to my house. I asked her, I said, well, do you know why you're here? And she says, yes. I said, well, why are you here? She said, because you have alopecia. And I said, I do. Would you like to see? So I took off my scarf. And when I took off my scarf, she just started crying. And I asked her, I said, why are you crying? She said, because I never seen anybody else that looks like me. And it hit me because I was the first person that this baby had ever seen that had alopecia. And so when she left my house, I started crying and talking to God, and I asked him what he wanted me to do. He said, start a support group. So I started my support group in 2009. And from there, I started doing one-on-one coaching, doing workshops, and I started writing in magazines. And then I figured, I said, you know what, there's not a magazine that is catered to people that are bald. And so that's when the Bald Life magazine was birthed. And the purpose of the Bald Life magazine is to feature men, women, and children that are bald due to alopecia, cancer, medically induced, or simply by choice. And so we feature their stories. We have writers, and it's just an amazing platform for people that look like me.
In the workforce, what kind of irritates me is if we do something dramatic to our hair and go back to work, there's always a big, oh my gosh, your hair. I mean, if I go in with braids and I've been wearing my hair like this, then, oh my gosh, what did you do to your hair? Oh, that's so cute. And this, instead of, just, oh, I like your hair and keep it moving, they want an explanation. They want to know what happened, how'd you do it, and, whatever. Or if I just wear my hair wet and curly, oh my gosh, did you curl your hair? Or what? I mean, it's always something.
Yeah. I would say it took me a very long time to feel comfortable wearing braids to work. Because I felt like it was like too ethnic or whatever, and that might not work with the clientele or whatever. But I do remember the first time I wore braids to work, my boss saw my hair, and she is an Asian woman who kind of grew up in the culture. Like she's been around Black people, other like Filipinos and things like that or whatever. So she was just like, oh my God, your hair is so cute like that, whatever, kept it moving. But she had to tell two of our other coworkers, Janae has her hair braided, do not touch it. Do not ask her how she did it. Like she had to coach these other people about not touching it. No, she told me eventually, because I was like, oh, I'm so surprised nobody said anything about my hair. She's like, I kind of had to tell them not to.
Shout out to allies, because listen.
But what? Now that would bring me to, why would white people or anyone else think that it's okay to want to touch your hair? Or it shocks me.
It's fascinating. And then I do know, I was like, when I did chop my hair this time, I was like, thank God we're in quarantine and there's not that many people in the office, because I really don't want to have all the questions about like, oh, did you cut your hair, when it's obvious that I've cut my hair. So I think now that people haven't seen me in so long, regardless, when they do come into the office, they're not even looking at like, what's different about Janae? Because I haven't seen Janae in a year at this point. So yeah, I think doing this job during quarantine was helpful.
Depending on which office I worked at, and I guess I would say the current office or the last office was a lot of white people. It wasn't too many like people of color that would come into the office. And so there was always like the fascination with it. There was one lady that tried to touch it. I was like, wait a minute, hold up. But pretty much there's a lot of fascination. There's always talk about it. Like we can never just get through the day without somebody like, oh, your hair looks cute today. Or, oh, what'd you do to your hair? And it's like, I'm not here for this, ma'am. But it hasn't been a negative response. I can say that.
I used to work in retail when I was in high school, and sometimes my hair was not, like I'd have my hair pressed and then, it would wear out or whatever, and it would get nappy. And so I would wear like a cute little scarf or hat to work. And then they'd tell me to take it off. And I'd be like, no. And then they'd be like, no, you have to. And so I'd have to be in the back room trying to figure out some kind of a style where I like pin it back or put it up or whatever. But then, I'd come back to work, like a week or two later, and I'd have braids or a weave, and they're like, oh my gosh, your hair is so nice. And then they'd be touching it and they're like, so how long did that take? Is this called a weave? Like, what is this? I'm like, I'm not an animal. Stop trying to pet me. It's like, what? I don't go up and just like touch you. Why are you touching me? And then I worked at a real estate company, and I got the job, but I became friends with the person in the finance department, and she told me that they didn't want to hire me because at the time I had like Marley twists, and they said that they thought that was too ghetto, and they didn't want someone who was at the front desk to be the face of the company who had hair like that, and they already didn't want to hire someone who was black. So I was like, oh, that's good to know.
There was one time I was working I was working at a security company, and that's probably the most negative experience I've had with and it wasn't even so much on my end. I remember my first day there, I was reading over like the employee manual, and in the dress code, it was like no braids, no locks. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this policy? Is very specific, because other than I saw like, hair length, but it was like pretty much assuming if it's a white person, they just pull their hair back in a ponytail. But if someone had locks or braids, then it was a no-go. That could be a disqualifier for their employment. So I had a big problem with that. I wasn't there very long because I was very vocal because on the other end, I could wear braids, but I never wanted to wear them because I'm like, I can't sit here in somebody's face and tell them they can't have braids or have, I will wear faux locks. I can't tell them they can't have certain things in their hair as a black person. It just didn't feel right to me to have to do that. And I remember at one point I started talking to like the VP of HR and really getting her to understand like why that was a problem. And it was a weird thing. Like she seemed very concerned and she wanted to help fix it, but it became a thing of trying to explain to a non-black person, they got down to like the braid size and it became these minute things. And I was like, you can't police somebody's braid size. Like, we can't sit here and measure braids. I can't tell you. I'm like, there's a plethora of hairstyles that come out, braids, crochet styles and everything. I'm like, I can't take you through all the hairstyles. So it became a thing of, I was like, I'm like, for one thing, you hire a lot of Black people for these positions. So you're cutting out a very significant part of the population by telling them that they can't wear braids in their hair. And, you know, I explained the reason. I'm like, if you, it's for maintenance purposes and also style and everything else. But it really created more of a headache. I hate to say it that way, but it created more of a headache trying to educate them, because it was more like they wanted to know what this style was called and all these things like twists, braids, locks, like having to give them a whole education on that. And I remember going to the corporate office one time, and it was like one Black person that worked at the corporate office, and I was like, okay, well, this is why. This is why there's so much confusion. And funny enough, like, she had locks.
There's statistics show that when you have a diverse work policy when it comes to race, including hair and culture, that you're going to have a better workplace, that your business is going to do better, and that people are going to feel, when people feel at home at work, right, they want to do better for you and the company. When they just feel like they're a workhorse and they're not appreciated, they're not going to go above and beyond and do better for you. So therefore, your company is not getting pushed to their max, right? That you may be doing fine, but you could be doing even better if you became more accepting of these policies.
In general, diversity brings a lot to the workplace. It brings creativity. When people are different and they come together, you learn from each other. And so, not that, again, you know, Black women should be on display like zoo animals, but once, you know, people are integrated together in the same space, I think ignorance goes down, and you start to see like, hey, professionalism and intelligence doesn't look one way. Like, people look different, yes, but we can all bring something to the table. Just because my hair is in an afro or is in braids doesn't mean that I can't also do this work. And so I think it spills out into, you know, the larger society, where you become more accepting and more, that simple tolerance goes away, and it becomes empathy and understanding of each other. And, you know, we can look different, but we all have something to contribute. And then you start to break down those walls of white dominant culture that has put us into a box of looking and acting a certain way.
Alopecia is I like to say that it doesn't discriminate, meaning that it can happen to anybody, any age, any gender. And it's something that is traumatic when it comes to hair loss. And then I think for the African American community, when it comes to alopecia and losing your hair, I don't like to say that it affects us differently, but I think that it does, because we deal with so many different issues outside of just racism. We also deal with colorism, and I'm finna make up my own word, hairism. You know what I'm saying? We have so many things that we are fighting against and trying to educate people. So I think African Americans, when it comes to hair loss and dealing with weaves and wigs, I tell people all the time that there's always a reason. Everybody has a story when it comes to their hair. And if you find out, if we can put ourselves in a position of being more sensitive and asking people why they are wearing a certain style of wig or weave or whatever, sometimes it's not just by choice. Sometimes it is something that is medically necessary. And that's what I find in my community.
We do a policy here that at first, and still does to some extent, hinge upon my hair and Black people's hair, is we have a no scent policy. And what the no scent policy is because people are allergic to perfumes. But as you probably know, is the majority of Black hair products have a scent. And so when I first started working, HR came into my office a few times to say, hey, you know, you smell really good, but everybody says you smell like coconut. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, she's like, are you wearing coconut perfume or is it in your lotion? I'm like, well, first of all, yeah, it's in my lotion, but, you know, let's set that aside. Fine, I wear scented, non-scented lotion. Let's pretend that for a second. It's in my hair product. And so you're smelling my hair, especially if my hair is still wet when I leave in the morning, right? If I do a wash and go or I even spray my hair, that scent becomes even more powerful. And so I was like, look, if you can find me scentless black hair products that work, I'm willing to try them. But until then, you can get out of my office. Right. And they were they recognized that. And she came in my office a few times just to make sure it wasn't perfume. And I haven't had to deal with it anymore, right? Because they recognize that there aren't any other hair products, right, that are going to work in my hair that are scent free. Our black hair products usually have a scent of some sort.
But I'm glad that everyone can express themselves the way they want to express themselves, and want to wear locks, braids, or whatever. It should be fine. It should be okay, just as long as you're clean and you smell good, you doing your job. What's the big deal?
I think as far as hair goes in the professional world, is that it should always be kept. So regardless of how you have your hair, is it the neatest way that you can possibly get it in that style? If you have locks, are they maintained? Do you wash them? Do they have a smell? Like if you're drafting a smell with you everywhere you go, whether your hair is straightened or braided, that's not comfortable for anybody that you're working with, whether you're seeing just your coworkers in a cubicle or you're working with customers or clients. I think if you wear your hair in your naturally curly state, are you doing something with it? Like, are you making whatever that style is look presentable, regardless of what it is? Just like what I say with white people, when you come into work and your hair is still wet from your shower, that's not professional. That's not a cute look for you. Just because you think, oh, okay, I have the straight hair. No,
it'll dry at some point.
Yeah, that's not professional. You need to do your hair while you're still at home. Blow dry it, do whatever, brush it out, however you have to do it. So I think as long as everyone keeps whatever style they have as kept as possible, then it's good.
I define professional hair as the way it grows out of your hair. Professional hair, the way it grows out of your head. Of course, there's the thing of making sure that, your hair is clean and all that, like the bare minimum, but also that can get messy with what people consider clean. So I think that the basic thing, your hair is professional. Professional hair is your hair as it grows out of your head. Like I said, even if it's me wearing a head wrap, like, am I bothering you? Like, I can still do my job, and I can actually get to work quicker. So, like, let me do this.
That you did something to your hair when you got out of bed, whether that's needing to take your hair wrap off because it was protected while you were sleeping, or wearing a head wrap, right? Doing something to your head in the morning. You're usually required to do something, right? Whether that's, I think it's defined by you. I don't necessarily know that any hair is unprofessional, and I don't necessarily know that. Yeah, I don't know what unprofessional hairstyle, I guess, would be.
Age,
but is your hair being neat taking care of it? Because I feel like a style that I'm going for now is like how it lands is how it lays. Like I don't know.
Okay, so
I don't
maybe
really want to go
not
with
the neatness, but yeah, like where you can go out in the workforce and have a job and no one's looking at you, and this person has bright red hair or bright pink hair or whatever. And can you work in an office setting like that? Can you work in a corporate office like that?
I get what you're saying in that part, and that goes to white people as well when they've got those crazy colors.
For me, it's like, if you can do your job without your hair getting in the way, then we're good here. So like how my fro is today, I would wear this out going to the grocery store to, normal. If I were like not around, if I'm just on the phone, I would wear this. Now, if I'm dealing with patients and I'm running after the doctor, this is not something that I would wear. I would have it pulled back. It would still be big, but I would have like at least a headband on or something, so it's not interfering with my job.
For me now, like, because like I said, right now I work for a much more liberal company where I can actually wear, if I want to color my hair, I can do that. So for me, it's styling my hair for me is just really about like freedom, like whether I want to styling, whether I want to do it or not. Like, so, you know, like I said, my former self was very much about slicking my edges every day, laying the scarf down, all that. But at this point, my hair is very much about like the freedom. And that had a little bit to me cutting it off again, was like, I don't want to be like attached. I've never been attached to my hair, but I feel like I started to become attached to like wearing a puff and all that stuff. So right now, like styling my hair for me is really just very much about freedom, and just ease.
It's my lioness mane. I think, I don't know, it's just, it gives me a sense of power. I don't know, I just feel like I am transported back to the ancestors in some kind of way, that I'm drawing strength from them and just doing what I do. And even when I wear a head wrap, I feel the same way, like I'm drawing on the ancestors and their blood and their sweat and their tears, and it's just coming through me through my hair or my hair wrap. I think there's even a part of the Bible that talks about the hair being the crown, and it's definitely true. At least for me, I definitely feel that sense of power.
It means that I'm finna I'm gonna be there for a while. I need to set aside some time. But I really just take pride in putting it together. I enjoy when I get compliments on it. And it just kind of, you know, I wish I had a girl, because it just reminds me of when my mama would do my hair and take the time and, you know, get the part straight and just make a beautiful piece of art with it. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm gonna take some time out of my day to put this ponytail in.
For me, it is usually, I guess, styling. It means that I usually have to put some kind of water in it with some product. Whether it's pulling it back in a ponytail and needing to use more gel. When it's down like this, I use very little gel and hair lotion. But it's styling your hair means doing what makes you feel comfortable in your own skin. It's different for everybody. All of us women of color to embrace our hair and wear what you feel comfortable with, not what society is telling us our hair should look like, or even what our older generations, right, are pushing us to wear our hair like. And encourage your workplace to change their policies, right, and push back on them with support from other colleagues, and making sure that we have safe work environment that will allow us to express ourselves and be ourselves. We have to put on a mask all day at work that makes us more fatigued when we get home than our white counterparts.
Especially when I have my hair natural, it's kind of redefining what it means to just exist as a Black woman in a society that tells us that we need to look and act a certain way in order to get ourselves in order to be successful. So yeah, it's one thing I could wear a weave or whatever and, you know, just go outside and people might be more accepting of me. But when I wear my natural hair, I feel like I'm defying not just like patriarchy, because a lot of men are like, why are you wearing your hair natural? We want it long and straight. But I'm also defying, you know, what a lot of, you know, white people don't want me to look like. So that's what it means to me. Also, I just get to be me and myself. Bye.
I remember getting locked up in myself. That thing of loving was for everybody else. Lost and lonely, haven't heard too many times.
Awesome. Well, we have started a Barbie doll campaign, and what it is is a Barbie doll that is bald, that looks like myself and millions of other men, women, and children all over the world. And it started, I was at Walmart shopping and I seen just one doll. So I grabbed the doll. When I came back home, I made a post. And I said in my post, I would love for my babies, because I call my little kids that have alopecia, I call them my alopecia babies. So I said, I would love for my alopecia babies to have a doll. And so people started inboxing me. And so we just turned it into a Barbie doll campaign. So now we have shipped over 50 of these Barbie dolls all over the world. I'm talking about New Zealand, Colombia, South Africa, and it has brought so many smiles. And you can go to my Facebook page, you'll see all the smiles of all the men and children, little girls that have received a doll. So if anyone is interested in helping us, they can reach out to me through the Bald Life Magazine website or through the Alopecia Support Group, because it looks like we're going to be doing this in the month of September, which happens to be Alopecia Awareness Month.